Hello! And welcome to a very strange and very niche thing that I am making right now called Twin Peaks Danganronpa. My guess is that most people clicking on this will know what Twin Peaks is, but if you don't know what Danganronpa is, here's a quick breakdown. It is a video game series about murder mystery trials. Basically, someone would kill another character, and then there'd be a trial to figure out who done it. If the killer is identified, the killer is executed, everyone else gets to live. But if the killer is not caught, they pick the wrong person, the killer lives and everyone else dies. And the killer gets to escape what otherwise is a very hellish situation of everyone being trapped together in a confined space. There's always motives to kill. There's always this huge element of mystery of, is there a mastermind? What's going on? And in the games, at least, this is a cast of 16 characters, all within like a high school age, with sort of like an anime or anime visual presentation. Now, with Twin Peaks Danganronpa, I'm using the simulator that is provided. I'll link down in the comments and also in the description where to find this yourself. And I decided to upgrade the 16 cast to 32. I also went and assigned every character in Twin Peaks that I selected an ultimate talent. In the Danganronpa video games, characters have an ultimate talent that they are the best at. And I decided, at least for my own humor, to assign everyone this. With all of this being randomized, I have no idea who's going to live, who's going to kill, so on and so forth. Keeping with Danganronpa tradition, or at least the norm, I stuck with the number 5 for the survivors at the end. That was the default on the simulator, and that's what I figured would be a good number too. So, however this goes, I have no idea. Let's go ahead and get started and introduce our cast for Danganronpa Twin Peaks. First off, we have the ultimate adventurer, who is also known as John Justice Wheeler, whose exploits are known around the world, of course, for his private jet and smooth way of talking to people and making them fall in love with him, and then disappearing, and who knows what happens to him 25 years later, and also even fewer people care. Then there's the ultimate affluent progeny, Benjamin Horne, the descendant of a great family, and even bringing it to greater heights with his business ventures. There is the ultimate assassin, Tommy the Hawk Hill. I know this is a bit of a stretch, but Hawk is known to have great aim. This is confirmed in the show as well as in other supplementary material, and you saw the way that he threw that axe down the stairs that one time in like season 2, I think it was. He could assassinate if he wanted to, so I gave him that title. Then I had to make up a title for a few of these characters, so ultimate best friend is to Donna, pictured there in the duality of all of her being as two different actors. Next to her is the ultimate biker, who, I suppose he rides a motorcycle and he's probably good at that. I'm going to argue he's the best at that. I await heated responses from those who are Wally Brando believers who think he is the best biker. I look forward to your well-thought-out replies. There's the ultimate boss, David Lynch, aka Gordon Cole, the ultimate botanist, Harold Smith, the ultimate boxer, Freddie Sykes, ultimate connoisseur. This applies both to his former life as a cheese pig and international foods expert, as well as to his future life as someone who indulges in herbal concoctions of his own or other people's making. There's the ultimate detective, who is a mainstay as a trope in Danganronpa games. There had to be one in Twin Peaks, and of course that is Dale Cooper. For the sake of this simulation, I'm assuming this is, Season 2 Dale Cooper, not end of Season 2 going into the return, Mr. C or Dougie. This is just original Dale Cooper. Also, if I haven't said it by now, there will be spoilers for all of Twin Peaks in this. You probably know that, but yeah, it's gonna happen. Next, speaking of spoilers, ultimate drawer knob, Josie Packard. You may be surprised to learn that this is not a thing in Danganronpa, but is a made-up title. What isn't made up is Ultimate Fashionista, who I've given to Audrey. Yes, Josie could be a fashionista, but then I wouldn't know what to do with Audrey, whereas Drawer Knob works perfect for Josie. Problem solved. Ultimate Fisherman, who could it be but Pete? Could have had Ultimate Chess Player. Either one. Maybe that's his secret talent he's going to bring out one of these days. There's the ultimate gambler, Jean Reno, the ultimate gymnast, Nadine, also an ultimate cheerleader, ultimate wrestler, ultimate a lot of things, but I stuck with gymnast. The ultimate henchman, Hank Jennings. The ultimate imposter, Wyndham Earl, with all of his disguises. Ultimate law enforcement, in the form of Harry S. Truman. Ultimate lawyer, Leland Palmer. There is oftentimes in Danganronpa a character known as the Ultimate Luck, and I've decided that's going to be Dougie Milford, because if you've read The Secret History of Twin Peaks or have listened to our podcast coverage of it, he is a very lucky man. He finds himself in the strangest situations through what seems like pure circumstance. And also, one could argue that his fateful end, where he had the last laugh potentially, was a form of luck. Good or bad, you decide. The Ultimate Magician, Red. Ultimate Mechanic is Big Ed Hurley, wearing his sexy stash. Ultimate Moral Compass, Major Briggs. Ultimate Negotiator, Janie E. Jones, for the way that she handled those wheezing criminals at the playground. Ultimate Prom Queen, known as Laura Palmer. Ultimate Psychologist, Dr. Lawrence Jacoby. Ultimate Receptionist, Lucy Moran. Ultimate Stuff, to quote David Lynch, Gordon Cole saying that Tammy has the stuff. There's a character in Danganronpa known as the Ultimate Traditional Dancer, so I've decided to go with the Ultimate Untraditional Dancer of Lana Budding Milford, the Ultimate Waitress in the form of Shelley, the Ultimate Whole Town, Andy Brennan, and the Ultimate Wine Taster, Dick Tremaine. I hope you do not get attached to too many of these characters, because they are almost all going to die very soon, either going to be killers or be killed. Now, it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, that this sort of thing is very silly and going to be dark because everyone's killing each other. And obviously in Twin Peaks, there are very serious and mature themes explored in a lot of the works, like The Secret Diary and Fire Walk With Me. This is not one of them. This is going to be very irreverent, very silly, and if that's not your kind of thing, I totally understand. But I'm just having fun with this idea here. As a fan of Danganronpa and a fan of Twin Peaks, I look forward to getting started here and proceeding. So I'm imagining that this killing game is taking place in the Great Northern, at least to start, because in Danganronpa games, they're usually self-contained in one area, or even if it's a big area, like some kind of geographical space, right? And the Great Northern's got to have enough room for everyone. Normally in Danganronpa games, they have their own dorm room or room, which is perfect for the hotel. Everyone's got their own hotel room. So I'm imagining that the scenarios that are at play are happening in the hallways, in the dreaded basement, maybe even around the area of the Great Northern. We'll see if we want to branch out as we go along to create more variety, but we're going to imagine here that this is in the Great Northern, at least for the start, in what I'm going to call Chapter 1 here. And everyone just entered, all 32 are shuffled, and they're being told about this killing game. They're being told that it's kill or be killed, and if they manage to kill someone and get away with it, they get whatever they want. They get their desires. But if they continue to be in this killing game, they are not only at risk of dying, but they're also missing out on that potential reward. So we're going to see who is going to be compelled to kill, either for material gain or for potentially personal reasons. Now, I noticed with this simulator, it doesn't really give me a lot of information, so I'm just going to make up stuff and craft a story as we go along here. So the first death in Twin Peaks Danganronpa is Jean Renault. My guess, just looking at this at face value, they saw the ultimate gambler and they realized he had a criminal history. His reputation got known among the community very fast. Obviously, you got Harry and you've got Dale Cooper there. They probably recognize this guy along with Hawk and Andy. And it's just kind of this understanding that he is someone to watch out for. He is someone very dangerous. And I think if they're deciding, well, if I got to kill someone to get out, I should kill someone who's already a bad person. Maybe it's someone who killed him, thought it was a justifiable person to kill. Ignoring the fact that doing it and getting away means killing, like 30 other people. Don't worry about that. Maybe they have some weird moral logic where I only killed Jean Renault. The other people who get killed because I escape, that's not me killing them. That's the killing game. I absolve my sins, wash my hands of this. Either way, I think someone killed Jean Renault because they thought he was a threat and or they thought he was someone justifiable to kill. But wait, another body is found. Very unusual for the first case to have two dead bodies, but it's also Andy Brennan. Now I'm thinking there's two ways this could go, and I'm going to decide once I see who the killer is here. Either scenario one is that the person killed Jean Renault, but then Andy was around as a witness, and in order to cover up their first kill, they had to kill Andy right away afterward to make sure that no one is able to testify against them in court. The other option, which I'm going to consider as well, is that it doesn't say what order the bodies were found in, that Jean Renault killed Andy, and someone saw Jean Renault kill Andy, so they killed Jean Renault as sort of like a revenge kill. Either someone close to Andy or someone who saw this as their opportunity to try to do it. Let's go ahead and proceed. So the results come in, and the first killer is Leland Palmer with the most votes. Who could have possibly foreseen Leland Palmer killing someone? So I'm going to go with my interpretation that Leland Palmer was desperate to get out of here. And in his emotional state, because Bob's not in the running in this competition, so Bob may be in Leland, right? That Bob doesn't mind killing anyone, but Leland does, that there's a sort of internal war, and he goes for the person he feels justified in killing. And the same way that, Leland killed Jacques Renault, he kills Jean Renault. He thinks that he can justify putting his rubber gloves on and strangling Jean Renault. No one's going to miss the horrible criminal man. And he's doing just fine, gonna get away with it, but then Andy Brennan, a whole town, walks into the room, and he can't have the whole town know that he did this. So Leland then turns around, wiggles his fingers a little bit, and sends Andy to Missoula, Montana, therefore killing the two people, the original target and the suspect. However, even when trying to cover up his tracks, there was too much evidence. I'm assuming Dale Cooper kind of led the investigation, along with the law enforcement, who are obviously very much battered about what happened. In fact, I said Dale Cooper might have been leading the investigation. I want to go back, and I want to see who all voted for Leland, to see who was onto him. So Hank knew it was Leland, or at least suspected. Wyndham Earl voted for Leland. Big Ed voted for Leland. And Tammy, okay. You know what? Tammy might actually have the stuff overall, because I'm thinking she might have led the first investigation. With her detective skills, she determined that Leland was the killer, and she was able to convince Wyndham Earl, who he knows what a killer's mind is like. He knows the inner workings of a murderer. So Wyndham Earl bought onto this, Big Ed bought onto this, and I think Hank also followed suit. Who did Dale Cooper think did it? Oh yeah, he thought Gordon Cole did it. Cooper, what are you doing over here? Does he look like the killer? I don't know. We'll find out later if he does. All right, we are now on to the second chapter, or, I'm not going to say it's day. I'm going to say that it's like time has passed, and they've kind of, maybe it's like a week has gone by since the first killing. And there's definitely some tension. There's too many people with such different varieties of personality trapped in this hotel, many of them wanting to just get out as soon as they can. But they try to coexist, and maybe along the way, some motives are presented to try to get a killing to happen, because it's been a while since anyone's took the bait. Leland is very quick to kill, but no one else is. So I'm imagining there's a motive at play, and I'll decide what the motive is after we find out who was killed and who the killer is. But in any case, a body was found in the Great Northern, and it's the body of Harold Smith, the ultimate botanist. And another body is found. It's Harry Truman. Again, unprecedented back-to-back double deaths here. Similar situation as last time. It could be someone purposefully killed two people. It could be like someone walked in. It could be that one killed the other. Well, we're going to decide how this happened once we get a verdict of who did it. But we've got Harold Smith and Harry Truman both gone. Oh, this is bizarre. It says there is a tie for the most votes between Donna, Dale Cooper, Audrey Horne, Hank Jennings, Dr. Lawrence Jacoby, Tammy Preston, and Dick Tremaine. One of them will be randomly selected. That's not how this works. That's not normally how the Danganronpa game works. In Danganronpa, there's an actual killer. They're just drawing straws and they're saying, you did it. I'm going to assume, for the sake of this narrative, that whoever they pick is the one who did it. It's not that they just picked someone to kill. They actually were the killer. So, Hank Jennings was the killer and is executed. Well, this is pretty easy to negotiate. Hank Jennings has a history with Sheriff Truman, a negative kind of toxic history. I think what happened is an altercation grew between the two of them, as well as there was that motive piece. And for Hank, I'm going to assume the motive was money. He's a simple guy. I think some cold, hard cash and a getaway ticket's all he needs. And if he's already having an altercation with Harold Truman, with Harry Truman, we'll get to Harold in a moment, with Harry Truman, I think a fight broke out, and I think that Hank decked Harry and ended up killing Harry Truman in sort of a very angry, emotional moment. Harold gets a little bit more tricky. Harold doesn't leave his room very much. Harold is definitely, agoraphobic or, afraid of the outside world. So I don't think that he would have, walked in on this, and I don't know why Hank would go and kill someone else. unless it benefited him. He only needs to kill one person for this deal, I would think. So my best theory is that he killed Harold in that kind of moment of anger and then realized he has to cover his tracks somehow. And the best way he could possibly think to cover his tracks is to make it seem like someone else did the killing. So he plants, pun intended, evidence of Harold by sprinkling flowers and other botanical items all over Harry's room and the site of the killing. And what ends up happening then is that he then kills Harold and makes it seem like it was a murder-suicide, that Harold had killed Harry Truman and then died as well, and that this is Hank Jennings' ticket to get out of here, is to make it seem like this is all a confusing circumstance. However, he was not able to fool everyone. Among those who were not fooled were Dougie Milford and Laura Palmer, two of the wisest figures in the town. Meanwhile, Star Detective Tammy thought it was Ben Horne in his own hotel, which isn't really a bad idea because we know that Ben would know the hotel layout very well. It makes sense he would be one of the killers at some point. And obviously there's not a lot of evidence to go on. It must have been a very good ploy by Hank because it was like a 5-way tie. In any case, we arrive at Chapter 3, and I think by this point, everyone's starting to get very restless in the hotel. They're not killing, and I think that whoever the mastermind is, whoever's behind this operation, which I might reveal at the end, whoever's behind this whole killing game and orchestrating all of this has to have them leave the hotel space and broaden their environment. So I think he extends the killing game to not only the Great Northern where everyone is staying, but also the nearby vicinity of the waterfall, the caves around the waterfall, the forest around the waterfall, and let's just say that's kind of the area. So there's more of an outdoor area now expanded to possibly where people could be killed. And there was a body found. Sometimes in Danganronpa game there'll be a motive where the killer did the killing to prevent a secret from being revealed to everyone. They had an embarrassing or dark secret. And I'm going to say that was the motive this time. Whoever the killer is, they killed to avoid their secret from being revealed. Let's see who the body is. It is none other than Dale Cooper. This is a sad day for Twin Peaks, but it gets worse. There's another body found, and it's Donna Hayward, two principal characters of the cast. I'm starting to wonder if the simulator, I didn't test this part, I'm starting to wonder if the simulator kills two people for a while to try to get the roster down. I'm okay with it. I don't mind. I'm just curious because this is a lot of double kills, and in Danganronpa, it's usually not doubles, but that's okay. So investigation proceeds. It is none other than Wyndham Earl. Again, these practically write themselves. Wyndham Earl killing Dale Cooper makes the most sense possible. Wyndham Earl would seek Dale Cooper out. Now, why did Donna get killed? We know that Wyndham Earl did this to prevent a secret from getting out. This is weird to me only because what secret does Wyndham Earl have? He seems to revel in his evil. Like, if they discovered something dark from his past, that generally benefit him. But maybe he doesn't want everyone knowing that he killed his wife Caroline, because that could get him in legal trouble. So up to this point, they've just said that he's lost it. They didn't say he murdered his wife. So he's maybe covering up, again, the murder of his wife. And what better way to do it than by killing Dale Cooper and getting away with it? My guess is that he killed twice because he knew that it'd be obvious to other people that he would be the one to kill Dale Cooper. So he killed someone else to throw off the scent. Or he just likes killing people because he's Wyndham Earl. Both of those make sense in my head. Donna's probably an easier target. So I'm thinking Wyndham Earl, the master of disguises, tried to pull this win, ultimately was caught. And I imagine he's someone that on the way to being executed, he is laughing and having a good time because he's further increased the despair around the Twin Peaks community. Going into Chapter 4, I'm not going to say every name, but this is our current roster. It still is pretty big, but at the rate we're going, we are gradually seeing these numbers dwindle, and it'll pretty soon be at, like, I would say half the size. In Chapter 4, I'm imagining that they've expanded the area even further, so now we're including, I think, even up to the high school. I don't remember the exact geography of the town, but I'm just going to say, like, the high school, and I'm going to say that this also expands into like the police department. And the first death, maybe there's only one. There's been two, so I'm going to say first. The first death is Tammy Preston, the main detective who caught the first killer, and who had some pretty good ideas throughout. She has now ultimately bit the bullet, baby. That's it. Well, okay, one death. All right. The one time I assume there's two, there's only one. So who killed Tammy? I also didn't specify a motive, so I'm going to say there is no extra motive. This is someone who just wanted to kill and get out. Maybe there's a personal reason. We'll find out. And the determined killer is none other than Lana Milford. Now, this is interesting because normally Lana kills someone, I would assume she would have killed a guy. And I would assume she would use her seductive powers. And that's not to say that she can't use her seductive powers on a woman. It just doesn't seem like that's Lana's MO. So I'm going to probably rule that one out over here. However, Lana being desperate enough to kill to get out of this, I believe. I am surprised she didn't take the bait earlier when the goal was money, but maybe she hadn't been that desperate. But now that the area has been expanded into the police department and the school, she has more of a range and she's more desperate to get out. I'm assuming this happened in the police department because I would think that once that opens up, Tammy would be going to spend her time in the police department along with a lot of the other police people, minus those who had fallen. Because at this point, we're down Andy, we're down Truman, we're down Cooper. So I think law enforcement is just down to Lucy, Hawk, and was Tammy. I think we're getting really low on numbers there. And I'm assuming she just killed maybe out of a sense of jealousy, a sense of anger. It's interesting. Why go after one of the hardest people to kill? Because Tammy, she's got the stuff. Tammy's going to see it coming. Tammy's going to know what's all going on. But maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's like she wanted to eliminate the best detective because the detectives are the ones who are going to find out who did it. So she's trying to make sure that the person who's most able, especially after Dale Cooper's gone, the best detective around Tammy is out of the picture. So that way she gets a better chance of getting away with it. Unfortunately for her, and fortunately for everyone else, they found out that she did it. She's probably a bad liar. Maybe she used her feminine charms to woo some of the voters, but I think that she probably was probably a bad liar and got caught in her own act. In Chapter 5, would you believe it, a body is found of Dr. Lawrence Jacoby. Another body is found of Janie E. Jones. So Dr. Jacoby and Janie E. Jones, I want to say there should be a motive this time. And sometimes in Danganronpa, there'll be a motive where if there isn't someone killing someone within a certain amount of time, the person in charge of the game decides to just kill everyone. Like it's like a doomsday clock situation. So I'm going to say that, more time had gone by where there was no killing. And this time the mill has been opened up as a location. There's now the mill, the Great Northern and the surrounding area, the school, and the Twin Peaks Sheriff Department. And there was a kind of an ultimatum that if there was not a killing in the next 48 hours, we'll give 2 days, 48 hours, that everyone would die. And in that situation, 2 people were killed. Now, the question then becomes, was it the same killer? Was it a different killer? What's going on that Dr. Jacoby and Janie were killed? To make things further confusing, let's put them in different locations. Dr. Jacoby, he was found in the lumber mill. He was found dead in the lumber mill. Whereas Janie E. Jones was found dead in her room in the Great Northern. I'll decide later which one was found first. But I'm going to say one was in the mill and one was in the Great Northern. Sure enough, it was Pete Martell. Now, it being Pete, I think, draws attention to the lumber mill being the site of the murder of Dr. Jacoby. But I'm going to wager that the killing did not happen in the lumber mill, and as they investigated, Hawk found evidence that the bodies had been moved in some way. I think what happened is that Janie E. had killed Dr. Jacoby somewhere else, and then she had also been killed by Pete, who either knew about the killing or was trying to cover things up. Either way, I think that Janie E. killed Dr. Jacoby in her room, so that if they find blood, it's going to seem like, it must be Janie E.'s blood because there's blood in the room, but it's actually from the other killing. So Janie E. lured Dr. Jacoby in there, maybe wanted to talk to him about something, humor one of his weird interests, I just love talking about Hawaii, and then Dr. Jacoby shows up with his golf balls ready to talk about Hawaii. She sledgehammers him across the head, and then maybe Pete, he is next door, he's in the area, he notices what's going on, he investigates, he opens the door and just flabbergasted, making the quintessential Pete reaction faces and sounds. He sees what's going on, he takes down the killer, but he realizes what he's gotten himself into now. So he plans how he can get away with this. If it's going to happen, if something bad's going to happen, Pete's going to find a way to make the best of it for himself here and try to survive another day. So I think what happens, he realizes there's already blood in the scene. He's going to confuse everyone by leaving Dr. Jacoby somewhere else and putting Janie E in the site where Dr. Jacoby's blood is. And he thinks logically, let's go over to the sawmill, and he probably tried to hide the body in the sawmill because he knows like where all the secrets and exits and different places are. He knows where secret tunnels could be that Andrew Packard could hide in, for example. So I think he very well hid the body of Dr. Jacoby to really confuse the situation, but the body got found. Hawk was able to find evidence the body had been moved, maybe this was trails of some kind, and everything came tumbling down on top of him. Now, in most Danganronpa games, Chapter 6 is the final chapter. However, we're still going over here. Our roster is thinning. It's down to 3 rows across. For Chapter 6, I'm imagining they expand the locations further, and now we're involving Ghostwood Forest. I'm assuming that the whole forest area is now available, with the majority of Twin Peaks still blocked off, except for the diner. Let's have the diner and Ghostwood Forest, which is obviously massive, enter the playing field at this time. A body is found belonging to Dick Tremaine. I'm going to say that he was found in the forest. Another body is found, and it was red, and I'm going to say he was also in the forest. I don't want to split the bodies again. Let's say they're both in the forest, and they're found near each other, suspiciously near each other, around the point of the 12 sycamore trees. Around Glastonbury Grove, there are 2 bodies. Hawk was the killer. He is not known to be the ultimate assassin for no reason, right? He could sharpshoot. He could throw that axe far, far across the forest. And if nobody hears it, doesn't make a sound. I'm imagining that the owls are not what they seem. And Hawk dressed up as an owl. He put on some of the clothing that was found in Wyndham Earl's room after Wyndham Earl died. He's able to get into Wyndham Earl's, like pick the lock, go into his room, find all these disguises, and of course, Wyndham Earl had a human-sized owl costume that just fit Hawk perfectly. And although it wasn't true to his name, he's a different kind of predatory bird. He decided he'll be an owl today. And he perches himself in the trees, and he has with him his dual axes, and he flings both of those axes, just angrily, just furiously throws those axes to kill the 2 people who are dead who I've already forgotten. Obviously, I did not go back. I just remembered it is Dick Tremaine and it is Red. To be honest, I don't think there's a big issue here. I think that Hawk just got annoyed by them. I think that Red has been trying to show everyone his one magic trick. The one trick he has. Yes, it's a cool trick, but when you've been doing it for weeks straight, just everyone's getting annoyed by you. He just keeps doing it. He keeps trying to be enigmatic. Everyone's sick of it. And Dick Tremaine, much as I love him, some people with less refined taste, for some reason, find him annoying or bad in some way. Can't even fathom why. So I think Dick Tremaine was also getting on Hawk's nerves, and Hawk was like, screw it. I'm killing him. I'm doing it. I'm going. And he just dresses up as an owl, flings the axes. And it's actually a pretty easy trial because there were axes embedded to them in a pretty similar location. And he was able to figure it out. Everyone's able to figure it out pretty fast. I'm guessing that he lured them into the forest by like telling them he had something cool to show them. He had a cool magic trick to show Red, and he had some great wine that he pressed that he keeps in a cellar in the woods that no one knows about. It's been aged perfectly in the Ghostwood Woods. And he lures them both there. They comically get there and look at each other like, wait, you're not Hawk. And then that's the sound of the axe. Just like, it hits them. And that's the end. Chapter 7, we're going past how long Danganronpa games normally last. At this point, I think things have taken a turn for the weirder. Everyone has been transported into the Red Room itself. They are occupying the space of all these different corridors with curtains all around them. And it also extends, let's say, you can travel from there into the area of the Dutchman's. There's a way to get to the Dutchman's from there, and also, obviously, from the Dutchman's, then you can get to the convenience store. So those are the 3 locations, but they can't get back to Twin Peaks as a town. They can't get back to their hotel rooms. They each are occupying rooms, quote unquote, that are only separated by curtains. So there's like no privacy. Anyone could just wander in. However, they're constantly getting lost because they have no idea where they even are. There's no motive needed here. Everyone's just getting a little bit like confused and disoriented. It's bad. They're in the red room. And a body's found. It's the body of Audrey Horne. And it's also the body of James Marshall. We gotta vote for Garland Briggs. We gotta vote for Briggs. Vote for Shelley. Vote for Freddie. Vote for Jerry. Vote for Jerry. Vote for Nadine. A vote for Freddie. A vote for Garland Briggs. A vote for Jerry. A vote for Gordon Cole. A vote for Doorknob. A vote for Lucy. A vote for Ben. A vote for Doorknob. And proceed. I think there's a few ties here, right? Yeah. So it's going to be one of these three. It's going to be one of these three. It's going to be Freddie, Jerry, or Josie. And it was Briggs. Wait a second. How could... Is there another... Oh, there's another one there. Okay, never mind. So there was 4 options, and it was Garland Briggs. I hate to see it. I could justify the others a little easier than this. So Garland Briggs has this fear that love is not enough. And he's normally a very kept together, reasonable man. But I think that being in the red room was so disorienting, was so excruciating here, that it must have played with his mind. It must have done things to him. It reminds me of like when he was on the haloperidol with Wyndham Earl. And I think that something in him split. Something in him it turned violent. I wouldn't believe it if I wasn't seeing it in front of me. I do not want to believe it. But I think that Garland Briggs was the killer. Obviously he was. He literally was found guilty. And I think Audrey and James, I don't think they killed each other. I think that he probably killed both of them. I think it was probably a case where there was a witness. I'm thinking that Audrey was dancing to herself, doing the Audrey's dance. Garland Briggs saw it, was super confused by the whole thing, ended up killing Audrey, and then James walks in awkwardly, his forehead gleaming, the light from the lamp just gleaming off his forehead, indicating to Garland Briggs there's someone there. He saw the light refracting, and then he went and got James as well. And it's honestly very tragic. I think everyone agrees, all the survivors agree, Garland Briggs, very sympathetic still, because they know that he didn't mean it. He didn't want this to happen. It was a very tragic circumstance. Honestly, there's always those cases sometimes in a Danganronpa game where it's like, it's gut-wrenching to find out who the killer is. You don't want it to be them. You don't want to think they would do it. I think that's Garland here. This is our current selection of survivors. Remember, 5 of them make it at the end. 5 of them are going to survive at the end. Moving from the red room now into the mauve zone. We are now in the purple mauve zone around the different outlets and the bells, and we are in this strange place. It's disorienting in a different kind of way than the red room. And just as people are starting to get comfortable, maybe used to the red room, now it's further disoriented them. I think there is a motive, though, not external, but just the fact that whoever kills and gets away with it gets to leave these places. And I think at this point, they're all wanting to find a sense of normalcy. So I don't think you need any other motive than just simply that. So a body is found, and it is Jerry Horne's body. Another body is found, and it is Dougie Milford. Now, I'm going to rule right away that Jerry Horne fell into the Purple Sea and died. I don't think that he was killed by anyone. I think his foot, may not have been his foot, who knows, slipped, and he fell into the vast ocean of consciousness. And, maybe a part of him still lingers in a certain way, elevated to another plane of thought. But he is otherwise leagues below the sea. I think Jerry's presence here, like the fact that, his body was disappeared and they found out he died, I think that that's a confusing element in the case. But as they continue to investigate, they find out that, nope, the only real kill here was Dougie Milford, a man who had eluded death for so many years. There's a vote for Big Ed, Nadine, Freddie, Shelley, Big Ed, Ben, Justice Wheeler, Ben, John Justice Wheeler, John Justice Wheeler. Of course, that means the killer was John Justice Wheeler, finally wanting to take his plane and get out of these different planes of thought and planes of consciousness. Did the unspeakable and killed Douglas Milford. But I suspect Douglas Milford was an assistant. Yes, I suspect that Douglas Milford knew that someone had to die for this to continue, for someone to escape. And I think that over the course of these several weeks, Douglas Milford had actually taken John Justice Wheeler under his wing and saw in the boy, a fellow pilot, a fellow adventurer, a fellow man of great spirit, and trying to help John Justice Wheeler survive this whole killing game scenario. And I think he realized that in his advanced age, the best thing he could do right now is be a stepping stone for John Justice Wheeler and sacrifice himself. So I think they worked together on the situation. And that while John Justice Wheeler did do the killing, it was as humane and quick as possible. It was something they mutually agreed upon. And it was only for the sake that John Justice Wheeler would escape and be able to live another day. Unfortunately, this did not work. It backfired. After he lost Audrey recently, now John Justice Wheeler has ultimately lost his mentor and himself. I think at this point, everyone is led to the electric socket, and they are led by this disembodied voice, this very deep, confusing voice, very similar to what we get from that voice that Mr. C hears that claims they're Philip Jeffries early on in that Daria scene. You hear that voice, it sends them to this outlet, and they all go one by one through this outlet, and that outlet takes them to Las Vegas. They have the entire Silver Mustang as their next location to have this killing game. And normally there would not be enough rooms, but at this point there's not that many people left, so the Silver Mustang is their new home. Unfortunately, as you might expect, a body was found. It belonged to Lucy Moran. Another body was found, and it belonged to Big Ed Hurley. Two hugely popular and very important people, pillars, one could say, of the Twin Peaks community, found both dead. Big Ed, of course, wearing his mustache, perfect for the gambling environment, but not perfect enough to survive. So I'm thinking he's like slumped over a poker table with a knife in his back. He's been stabbed brutally. And Lucy Moran is seen shoved into a slot machine, you see the front of her body on one side and her legs on the other side, and her middle's hidden by the machine, and she's just trapped in there, also slumped downward, dead, gone. We don't know the full cause of death, but she is slammed into that slot machine. It's still going, by the way, in comical David Lynch fashion. The slots are still going, endlessly twirling, making that sound that's driving everyone absolutely bonkers as they're investigating who did this. Ben Horn suspects Freddie Sykes. Gordon Cole concurs. Freddie Sykes thinks Gordon Cole did it. Josie thinks Ben did it. Nadine thinks Josie did it. And Lucy thinks Josie did it as well. Oh, and then Shelley thinks Ben did it. Yes, three-way tie, where one of them is selected, and it is Freddie Sykes. Okay, so this does help explain some things, because who's going to throw Lucy into a slot machine? My thinking is that Freddie punched Lucy with enough force that it threw her into that slot machine. So I think that kind of explains that. And I think it was a simple case that these guys were gambling, having a fun night with the slots. And at this point, they're looking for a way to pass the time and take their minds off everything. There's some alcohol here, obviously, at the casino. So they've been drinking. And, sometimes when you're drinking, a fight can ensue or a disagreement. And in his state, Freddie forgot what his glove could do to someone. He forgot the power that was in his glove. And so the unfortunate happened. Three friends getting together to spend some time together turned into this horrible event, and Freddie was caught green-handed. We are down to the final 6. Now, I selected that 5 people would survive. I don't know how this works. Is there going to be someone who dies by suicide in this round, or how does this get settled? I imagine, just for simplicity, they're still in the Silver Mustang at this point, and a body's found, and it is Gordon Cole. It is Commissioner Gordon Cole. The remaining 5 people... Wait, what? Escape alive? Wait. Body is found. It's Gordon Cole. These are the 5. Everyone remaining escaping alive, including the killer. The final killer... Wait, the killer gets to go too? That's not a thing in Danganronpa. What? Why did Shelley do it? Why did Shelley kill Gordon Cole? Wait a second. Gordon Cole, in the show, was flirting with Shelley. And, Shelley was amused by it, flattered by it. I think maybe over time, Shelley's tune changed. And I think that, she finally had enough of Gordon Cole hitting on her, this older guy that she was not into. And she knew that it was getting down to the last few people, and she decided to take it upon herself to stop Gordon Cole, who at this time, let's also say everyone else agreed, was getting annoying, was someone that, Ben didn't trust because he was onto his business interests. Josie didn't trust because Gordon Cole was onto her and her operations. Nadine was convinced that Gordon Cole was a school bully. And Laura Palmer, well, in Twin Peaks, there's something called the ultimate hope and the ultimate despair. There's two different people. And sometimes a character can be the ultimate hope if they represent the hopes of the people. I think Laura Palmer is an ultimate hope figure. But ultimate despair are figures who bring this sort of destruction and chaos to them. I think Laura could be both. She could be a character who is both the ultimate hope and the ultimate despair, masquerading as simply the ultimate prom queen. And I think that she, this entire time, has been kind of subtly leading people to have escalated motivations, to give them hope of escaping and then crushing them with despair of defeat. And I think that there's a dark part of Laura Palmer that also wanted Gordon Cole to go. And it all just ties together because I said it did, and we're not going to question that because we're done. We are done. The final result is that 5 survivors are there. Benjamin Horne was able to escape death multiple times in his own hotel, continue to evade with all of his vast resources, his extreme charisma and ability to convince people. And I think he was tactful. He's one of those people that survive at the end, and you look at it, it's like, how did you live this long? Because he's such an obvious threat. You think someone would want to kill this guy, but nobody did. He was almost too obvious of a threat, perhaps. Too obvious of a target. Josie, was she a drawer knob? Was she a person walking around? We'll never have to know because she never was the killer or killed. I never had to decide. So whatever existence Josie's in, she manages like usual to survive in spite of the odds, to play people against each other as necessary, to blend in when necessary. Nadine was so physically imposing. She reminds me of some of the strong characters who survive at the end of the game. Someone who's maybe not necessarily the brightest about certain things, but someone who is such a force of nature, that is such a useful member of the group whenever something needs to get done, like moving something or relocating something. Like, for example, when they had to get Lucy out of the slot machine to, investigate, I'm sure that Nadine was able to easily do that the same way of like someone would open Tupperware. I don't know how that works, but it does work as a comparison. And Shelley Johnson, obviously a fan favorite. She's definitely a very supportable character who, even though she did commit a murder at the end, she was able to make do with the best of things. I think we're just happy, Shelley survived. That's a good thing for everyone involved, except for Gordon Cole. And Ultimate Prom Queen, Laura Palmer, the hope and despair. Was she the mastermind? Was she the one behind it the entire time? You might start to think that. I think that's the way you're going to be led for the very majority of that final trial until it is revealed that there was a mastermind behind it. Someone who was so interested in destruction and evil that they were willing to cause this entire rupture of the entire town of Twin Peaks. Someone with a grudge, someone with darkness in their heart, watching outside with their vast resources. And that, of course, was Little Nicky. Little Nicky was the mastermind behind the whole entire thing, helped from the inside by Laura Palmer, and was about to be caught by Gordon Cole before Laura planted the seed in Shelley's head to commit that final kill. As we survey, the results of this bloody fiasco, we have to be left with both hope and despair. Despair for those who have fallen, for our favorite characters who were murdered or had murdered, but then hope that those who survive will build a stronger Twin Peaks community. One that hopefully does better to prevent Little Nicky's from rising to power. I'm assuming by this point that Little Nicky has taken over the resources, not only of the Renault family, but also had usurped the Brothers Horne and taking care of those vast resources. He now runs One-Eyed Jacks. He also has connections through Pierre, his best friend. Pierre, they go to school together. Pierre managed to make a lot of the magic work that led them into the Red Room and the Mauve Zone, etc. I think that the real goal, the real takeaway from all of this is that we need to do what we can to prevent disgruntled, demonic orphans from getting too much control over our society. And that's really, at the end of the day, the most important thing. It is worth noting that Laura Palmer did not die in this killing game. The person voted most likely to die did not. Laura lives on. And with that message, I thank you for joining me on this incredibly niche, weird thing that was fun and confusing, and I'm going to edit it down the best I can so it's not long. Definitely, if you do this yourself, I would recommend less than 32 people. It did get a bit long, in my opinion, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. If you like Twin Peaks content, I got more of that on my channel. Snoop around if you're into it. Thank you. Bye. Ciao.